bad subject, but the Damian Pierce touchdown back in Houston. Is there any? I mean, he was a surprise returner that day.
Yeah.
Was there anything about that led to the touchdown, or is it just the missed block somewhere?
No, we need to cover better inside. I mean, yeah, we just need to cover it better.
And since you were Frank Ross, the special teams coach,
Yep.
worked on you.
Yeah, he was my assistant for 3 years in Indy.
So is a protocol that you guys talked afterwards and didn't give you any crap or anything?
Yeah, and I mean, no. I mean, we talked after the game, but yeah.
Well, going into this, go ahead, Tom.
Kevin said that Dustin has made some progress. Has he been able to kick at all?
I mean, that's part of the rehab process. He's going through that now, and we're hoping that, not sure how it'll look. Probably, like Kevin said, probably unlikely this week, and we'll just see how it goes moving forward. But yeah, I'm sure he's implemented that into the rehab.
What about Riley? Why do you feel so confident with Riley heading into this game?
Thought it was a good option. I thought he was, to have a guy that has had experience. He's actually hit a pretty high percentage in his career, and he has playoff experience. Last year he actually hit a game winner against, I think it was the Chargers in the first round of the playoffs. So he's done a good job.
Why does he prefer the right hash on PATs?
Just personal preference, I guess. Yeah.
You mentioned him kicking the game winner. I mean, how much confidence does that give you as a coach that this guy's been there before if it comes to that?
Yeah, I think that, anytime you're in those situations, it's good to have experience, but ultimately, what you've done in the past doesn't matter. So, every game's different, every rep's different, every kick's different. So, the playoffs aren't about experience, it's about execution on that day. So, you see a lot of, would you like to have a lot of veteran players that have been there? Yeah, but that's not the case. It's about who's going to execute that day on that rep.
Bubba, how good was it to get Corey back last week and get one more game in before the playoffs? And how do you think he did?
He did a nice job. He hit the ball well. I thought he was controlled in his swing, and he elevated the ball pretty well and with good direction. So he gave us good field position, and I thought it was a good ramp up to this week. So, I think he's in a good spot.
Bubba, we've asked you this before about holding and blocking the back on your returns. Do you chart where your penalties are compared to other teams? It seems like you have very few.
No, I don't look at it. We emphasize playing clean and try to coach that up. We put a big emphasis on it in our Friday meetings, which is going to be like Thursday this week. And I think the players understand how the game's being officiated, so try to just always review and go over, how those calls are being made. So try to play clean in those return phases.
You know how many penalties you've had though, or not? I mean, you're pretty good on numbers.
I know we haven't had a ton.
Chance to speak at the team meeting when people were talking about Super Bowl experience, and if so, what was the message that you shared?
I spoke, yeah. I spoke, and, I'll keep those comments for our team.
What was that meaning like? Can you, or do you not want to share? It seemed like the players felt it was very inspirational.
Well, yeah, I felt like they probably weren't supposed to, elaborate on that with you guys. That was, a team, tight-knit thing, so I'll keep my comments to myself on that.
Bubba, Pierre's obviously battling dealing with the back. Having James as kind of the fallback as the backup, how much does that kind of put you at ease if Pierre isn't able to go this week?
Yeah, other guys have done it too that are on the roster, and Jerome was our kick returner to start the season, so we have options.
In terms of the execution, you said that's the big key factor for the playoffs. Does your philosophy and messaging change at all being in the playoffs? Does it intensify, or is it just business as usual for you as a coach?
No, I treat every game the same way, and I think that's a big thing with the playoffs. You can't treat these games like they're any different than the next. And I would say your heightened awareness to certain situations may be greater, just because of the magnitude and the stakes. But if you're trying to do like a player trying to do too much or not play within the scheme is not the answer. So I think it comes down to fundamentals and technique, and playing sound, disciplined football is what's going to win games in the playoffs.
Were your special teams shuffled up a lot in Cincinnati because of all that?
Well, you see a lot of guys that were up for the game and dressed didn't participate in the game, so it puts a lot of stress on the players that are actually playing on defense and offense because they have to do double duty. So those guys are definitely gassed on our punts and on our kickoffs and kick returns. So
You used your core guys.
there's no one else to use, So, and we told those guys in that game, don't look over your shoulder because there's no one else to put in. So, I've been there before, and that's not a fun place to be. And I called those guys during the game. I said, "You guys are warriors." I said, "This is not easy to do," and that's why, football is a team game, and those guys, credit to those guys for being selfless players. I mean, for us to be able to not play certain players last week is a credit to the back end roster guys, and they definitely haven't been given enough credit, and I think that they deserve it.
I know you said you treat every game the same. What are there lessons that you've learned from your time in the playoffs that you're trying to pass down to the guys?
Definitely, yeah.
What are they?
Do your job. Do your job, right? Don't try to do too much. Do your job and trust that your teammate's going to do his job. The more you can play collectively as a group, per unit, and then I would say complementary football with the kicking game and offense and defense. The more positives you can have in that, the better the results are going to be. Can't have self-inflicted wounds. Can't have penalties. Got to protect the football. That's on there in the return game and on offense. So I think that's important. Just don't try to do too much. Play within the scheme.
I want to go back to my question about Patterson preferring the right hash. Is that unusual?
I don't think so. There's a number of kickers that have hit their PATs from certain hashes. I'm trying to think of who I was watching recently. But no, I think it's just preference, honestly. It's just preference. Some guys will for a game winner, you may prefer right or left. Some guys will say, hey, I want it on the left hash, or I want it on the right, depending on what, if we were playing outside. The wind is always a factor. I remember going against Chicago. Against Chicago, we wanted, from what I remember, we wanted the right hash because of what the wind was doing, so.
He missed the second PAT from the right hash. He missed right, and he didn't change after that. He made everyone after that.
I actually asked him after that. I said, are you sure you're good for the right hash? And he's like, yeah, I'm good. I'm like, okay. I feel like the thing with specialists, too, is, have them in their comfort zone, right? You don't want to take them out of their comfort zone. However they're comfortable, and that goes with their weekly routine and everything as well. So I think as long as those guys are comfortable and put them in the best mindset possible, it gives you every opportunity to execute.
Going back to getting Corey back, is that helpful for Riley, kind of as he's acclimated to the team, to have Corey who's been around and been in his position that they can build on each other?
That was a big thing for me last week is, ideally you'd like to have Corey at the game more for the holding factor. I think that it was good that we actually had him out there in case Dustin wouldn't be able to go this week. So at least we have a game, a warm-up, pregame with those guys, and then obviously they'll work together this week in practice.
Obviously you were back with the Patriots coaching in 2016, but as a former Browns player, when the Cavs won the title, do you remember that grabbing your attention at all and allowing you to think what a football title would mean at this time?
Yeah, it's special. It is. to win a championship is incredible. So we're just going to take it game by game and hope for the best.
Do you remember, like, do you remember watching any of that, just like the parade, or do you remember thinking about
I mean, I remember when they won it. I don't have a ton of recollection as far as like the celebration to it and all that. I know that this city would go nuts. And, you know, I'm worried honestly about winning this game this week. But, you know, everyone wants what you're talking about. But I think right now our sole focus is winning this game against Houston and doing everything we can to prepare ourselves and our players to do so. Thanks.
How you doing? Good, thanks.
Do you expect to see something, I'm sure the Texans won't change drastically, but considering the game that Amari had against them a couple of weeks ago, do you think they'll see a lot different look from them?
It's hard to say, but I would expect so. With the success that he had during that game, that they would have to try something a little bit different. But who knows? That's a defense that believes in who they are and what they do. So we'll see. But we're ready to adjust, and we're ready for anything that shows up Saturday. Excuse me.
How tough is it to do on either side of the ball? If you've done something all year long, are you major mad then to try to change something just for a playoff game or a specific matchup?
Yeah, it's always hard. I mean, you are who you are to your core. You have your core beliefs in your system, and you hang your hat on those. So we'll see.
Alex, they had so many key defensive guys for them out last game, so how much of an impact is that, like knowing you're going to have to see like an Anderson, a Grenard more this time around?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, those are great players for him. We didn't see Grenard last time. He left early in that game. But we know what he brings. His productivity's been outstanding this year. Anderson's an extremely talented pass rusher as well. Their strength is up front in their D-line, we feel, and that's a good challenge. So we hope they're healthy. We hope we get them at their best.
What's going on at the backup quarterback position? Is there an audition still continuing?
No, not as right now. Jeff is our backup moving forward. Thought he did a good job last week, put in a tough spot, come in and just go after a week of being around. It wasn't always perfect, but he did some really good things.
In terms of after that game, D'Amico Ryans kind of lamented the fact that they gave Joe all day to throw. So I'm sure you're expecting that they're going to dial it up and bring way more heat. And how are you guys ready to adjust to
The same way we prepare every week, Mary Kay, to be honest with you. We go through our blitz meetings and our blitz pickup responsibilities, and then we walk through it. So nothing will change for us in our process.
And I know Elijah Moore got on the field in Cincinnati a little bit, but how's he look? Has he looked back to normal?
Yeah, he looks good. He looks really good. I thought yesterday, even in a walkthrough, he's twitchy and he's coming out of breaks, and we had to slow him down a little bit. So excited to see a healthy Elijah out there.
Elijah went through a lot of the season, not struggling, but just not producing. Did you guys have to talk at any time, or did you just feel confident that when the right time came, that he would still be able to?
Oh, he'll definitely help us. He has all year. Doesn't always get a ton of throws throughout the course of a game, but he's definitely on the guys that we try to get the ball to. There's no doubt about that. So that's just the way it's gone. He's going to make big plays for us, all the way through. He's been a true professional. All the way through, he works as hard as anybody, in the classroom and on the field, so he's deserving for sure.
How much has Joe Flacco's ability to throw downfield allowed you to adjust your game planning to take advantage of that?
Oh, yeah, well, we'll try to push it at all three levels of the field. There's no question. We're going to make him defend the whole field, and, his ability to throw accurately down the field helps us in that regard.
Some bursts in the run game, but it's kind of been up and down this season since Nick went down. Just where's your confidence level with that, and what are you hoping to get?
No, I feel good about our run game, and it hasn't been as productive, as the past run games. But at the same time, this is playoff football. You got to run the ball to win in these games, and I think we're healthier up front than we have been in a while, thanks to last week. And we didn't run it as well as we wanted to last time against this group, so it's a big challenge for us, and we've addressed it.
Talk about their edge rushers. How have you seen Jerron and James get better in the last month or so when they've been in there, and just how do you think they've played for it?
No, I think they've been great. I really do. I'm really proud of those guys. James played really well last few weeks. Jerron's playing well. Those guys just to come in and play, I think it's really helped us. It's saved our bacon, so to speak, a little bit to have two guys that can hold up on the edge, and proud of those guys for their effort.
Alex, most teams, when you lose your starting quarterback to a fractured shoulder, don't have the opportunity to go pluck a former Super Bowl MVP off the couch and plug him in there and have it go like this,
Right.
and stand up in front of the team and talk about what it's like to win a Super Bowl and things like that. How cool is it for you guys to be able to go into these playoffs with obviously everything at stake with a guy like Joe?
Yeah, Joe Cool. I mean, he's just, he's been there, he's done that. There's nothing too big. He's experienced a lot of football in his day, and it definitely gives us a level of confidence and, comfort going into the game knowing that he's at the helm.
There's some guys that are approaching this as going 1-0, and there's some guys that have talked about feeling the weight of this game and it being the playoffs, especially the ones that haven't been there before. For you as a coach, how do you value the different kinds of approaches to this week, and how much do those mix in as they're talking to each other?
Yeah, the biggest thing in these games is, don't do anything that you haven't done all year. For these guys, just a little bit more time. Like the importance is there, yes. Is it the most important game of the year? Yes, it is. Because for us, it's our next game, and that's our motto going in. So we're just going to heighten our awareness and laser focus and really focus in on the little things of the game plan, and that'll just allow us to go out and play free and fast. The last thing we want is a tight group out there on Saturday. So just being who we are, I think, is important. It's been good enough to get us where we are right now, and I'd hate for guys to feel like they need to change and do more or less than they have at this point. So that's going to be the message, going through the week, is trusting the process, really emphasizing the preparation, so you have freedom to go play loose on Saturday.
Do you leave alone the notion of, for the most part, of interceptions so that it doesn't become, a thing inside anybody's head? Or do you have to send some messaging about not throwing picks?
We do every week, really. Every week when we talk to the team in front of the Saturday night meeting, it's all about ball security first and foremost, and it ends with ball security. Like I said before, sometimes you don't mention it and you don't get it, you do, and they don't. I mean, it's just we got to take care of the football. We're last in the league in turnovers, so and they're first in the league at not giving it away. So we got to play better there.
Alex, you've been with Kevin from the start here. How has he evolved as a coach in your mind?
I mean, he's awesome. I've enjoyed every second with him. His ability to adjust and adapt with the coolness. That is just, it's just a consistency that he brings every day. I mean, he's coached a lot of football, different schemes. His ability to change on a dime based on who this player, his starter is at quarterback, I thought it's been really remarkable. But the message, the culture he's built here over the last 4 years, I'm really proud to be on his staff.
How do you guys reconcile your giveaways and it hasn't affected the success of the season? Is this just a weird, well, you got a whole analytics crew that is studying this. And what's the explanation?
Not looking into it that deep right now, Tony. Just try not to turn the ball over. The more I talk about it, the more I start sweating. So we'll just stop there.
Is it difficult to, you've been preaching, just do your job. Is it difficult, though, for guys to not get caught up in this being a playoff game and trying to do too much?
The good news is we have a fair amount of guys that have been in playoff games before, including R2 in 2020. So hopefully we've learned some lessons from that. I know we went to Kansas City the first series and a half, first two series, I didn't know what football team was out there. That wasn't us. We got a little tight and a little nervous. So hopefully the guys in that game have learned from that. Again, we're preaching the process. We're preaching preparation. These guys should go to bed on Friday night feeling like, okay, I feel really good about my week's work, and we'll go from there. But there's no need to be tight in these games. Again, it's the most important game of the year because it's our next game.
Talk about Joe giving you confidence and how he's Joe Cool out there. Just what's his impact been, behind the scenes, because he's been there, he's won. This is nothing new to him. Just what's that like been behind the scenes as far as the calming influence and also on the sidelines in games?
Yeah, no, that's who he is. That's the strength. One of his strengths that he brings to us is his ability to, talk to guys on the field, off the field, after practice reps, after meetings, his ability to communicate, make sure everybody's on the same page. Those are the types of things that veteran quarterbacks do behind the scenes. But he's been doing that since he got here.
That first Houston game, they just weren't applied any pressure on Flacco at all. And they really haven't gotten those two guys back yet. So have you seen D'Amico Ryan adjust to that, or is it just plugging in Barnett and Jerry Hughes, or you see a scheme adjustment there?
Yeah, I mean, we're ready for it. Don't know, to be honest with you, not quite sure. But it's definitely, you hit the checklist of things that you have to be ready for. That's on the list. But we're ready.
Sorry, how about your uncertainty at the receiver position a little bit with Said and maybe Marquise, and how do you feel just about heading in?
Hopefully we get some guys back, regardless of who's out there. Feel confident about who's out there. Mary Kay, David Bell last week, all he does is catch 2 touchdown passes, does his job every time. Feel very comfortable if he's out there. He'll do a great job for us. Elijah coming back, Amari with a week's rest, feeling better. I'm excited about that group.
When you guys got here in 2020, focus was obviously on sort of just changing the culture and establishing a winning culture and all that. And you make the playoffs that first year, you go 2 years without it. Just how much more does it feel like that culture change, the message has just kind of gotten through to get you to the point now where you're making it the second time in 4 years?
Yeah, I think that's a big part of who we are in this building. That locker room is a really, really tight, connected locker room. The great teams that I've been fortunate enough to be around or on, that's the same feeling I get from this group. They love to play for each other. They really love to play for the man to the right and the left of them. That's all that matters, the trust that they have in each other. That culture has been built here now for 4 years. You can feel it this year. To talk about David Njoku, I think I read one of his articles where he said, as soon as I put the team in front of me, I became a better player. And I see that through a lot of players on this team. And I love the way that these guys fight and scratch and claw for each other every week. All righty, thank you.
Thank you.